Unicorns of Love absolutely destroying Origin in one final fight.
I think our team is actually good at all stages of the game now.
Steve can't put him down. It is Gilius who does it. It's a great day for Schalke 4.
Gamers 2 and Fnatic are gonna be on the top.
The reaction be fast enough. Gamsu over the wall. Parallel conversion doesn't really land on anyone. But Spirit gets it! Fnatic and Spirit gets it.
If we continue working hard, I think we can be a lot better than we did before.
And the reigning champ crew, they are still supreme.
I'm pretty sure we will be number 1 and number 2.
Gamsu is going to find his prey for a first kill, second kill on the triple.
Oh, triple knockup from Trick, and that will result in 2 fast kills over to G2. Teleporting out of there. Will he make it? Yes, he will!
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the European LCS studios here in Berlin, Germany, where we've arrived at week 2 of the summer split, and the fight for the top is in full swing. Unicorns of Love fans always in the house, and outside waiting just a couple of minutes ago. Super excited to get into week 2, as well as Vitality with their new AD carry in the back. Rhea, of course, very exciting to see what they can bring out, and obviously Origin, but also the new AD carry, although we've heard of him before.
The new old AD carry.
In the AD carry role. Hello everyone, I'm Eva Schalke supporter, here behind the analyst desk alongside Martin Fischer Lunge, Andy Vedius Day, and Trevor Quickshot Henry. Just getting started, let's take a look at the standings after week 1. The spring champions G2 are undefeated, 4 straight wins for them, then Fnatic and Schalke right behind them. Giants and OG winless. You said you were not surprised by Origin being winless?
No, not really. I mean, we knew there was a lot of questions about this lineup in week 1. We didn't expect him to show up, you know, the first week. I didn't expect him to have pick as the AD carry in the second week either. Yeah. But, you know, sometimes surprises will happen. I really don't know what to expect from this team anymore.
Now, this is the good time that now we can start testing some of those theories. Last week, we watched 4 games per team. Those sweeping generalizations of the teams that are going to win the spring split come out. But now we can actually test them and see how the teams continue to grow and develop throughout the split.
Yeah, we got to look for the first time at the refreshed rosters as well. And we have a good way to now track the outstanding performances and the surprises because of our player of the game leaderboard. Taking a look, Betsy and Febiven at the top with Gilius and Yuktok. We always believed in Betsy.
Yeah, we have quite a few mid laners sitting at the top, which is always nice to see. Betsy doing a great job coming back onto Rocket. He did have a pretty good split last bit, but now he is definitely the shining star for Rocket right now, alongside Febiven and Gilius, who has definitely been stepping up for Schalke.
Yeah, I'm really impressed. 2 Player of the Game awards last week. Trashy, of course, is another jungler who stepped up during week 1. And both of these guys really impressed me because both of them left something to be desired in the spring split. And we see them come out really swinging, really hitting hard. Gilius basically carried Schalke to a victory against UOL with his Elise performance, and Trashy was phenomenal on Gragas all week long. I'm very excited to see how they continue to develop because we're seeing these younger talent actually show up on stage, and it's taken a little while, but they're getting there.
Well, I think just even the bottom 4 teams of last week, we talked about this last week, are much better now. Like even Giants, yes, they lost all their games, but we see some new players in there, some players who could surprise, you know, further on in the season. But Splice, Rocket, Schalke, definitely stronger teams than last week. Overall, the entire region is more competitive. Question is our top team stronger than last week? I would say G2 is for sure. Fnatic will probably be. And then I'm not sure about the rest yet. Because like Origin is obviously not going to be as strong as they were last split towards playoffs.
Well, we'll be wiser today.
It's okay.
Splice and Schalke will be our last match of the day up on the card, but we're going to start things off with H2K taking on the Giants, and then we'll see Fnatic versus the Unicorns of Love in the arena, followed by Vitality OG over in the studio and Rocket versus G2, and then Splice versus Schalke, as said, will be our last match.
I can't wait. That's the players I just talked about a second ago, Trashy versus Gilius. Splice and Schalke, they looked good in week 1. Splice, they still have some issues to work through in terms of their shot calling in the mid game. But again, young teams developing, and I want to see if they can continue playing well.
And not only should we look for Trashy and sorry to interrupt.
That's all right.
Not only should we look at Trashy and of course Gilius, but I also think Spraddle and Copy deserves like some mention here. Copy had a great performance as the AD carry and Spraddle on support. He's been getting better and better ever since he was pro miscue and obviously didn't do well. And then he got removed from Elements and back on the lineup. He's actually getting much better, so I'm pretty excited to see that match.
Did you just say that on purpose?
Yeah, because people called him pro miscue because he had such a bad start.
That low-key flame,
There's a little bit of accent in there, but also it was what people called.
Very.
I'm personally excited to see our first game between Giants and H2K because I have a lot of optimism for Giants. I think that they can still pull it back. Yes, they had a really rough week 1, but it was against G2 and Fnatic, who a lot of people would consider top 2 teams right now. So I still have faith, especially in the mid lane at Knight. I think he can be a promising rising star.
Well, we'll see what happens. Obviously, the teams are also on 6.11. They've been preparing a lot for 6.10. Now another patch. You mentioned Knight. What will we see in the mid lane? Any big changes?
Vlad is probably still going to be the big contender in the middle lane. We have already seen a couple in the Challenger Series. We've seen a lot of priority on taking him away. Azir did experience some nerfs this patch, but he's still likely to be quite a powerful pick. His mid to late game is still very impactful. Kindred and Lucian, while they also had a couple of hits, they'll still likely be picked. Maybe just not as powerful and as much of a priority as we've seen in the past.
Basically, this patch was a live design team who were very angry at some specific champions. And they're like, okay, we have like these 7 champions who are a little bit too strong, so they nerfed all of them, same patch. Obviously, Vladimir was left unchanged, which is why he's probably going to be the most banned champion together with like Ryze, who's still a bit too strong. But everything else is actually very fair now. Like even Nidalee, Kindred, who were considered such a strong pick last week and for the last month or 2. Now you can actually leave them open and you can pick around them. You don't have to ban them. Same for AD carries with Lucian. Same for a lot of top lane changes. I actually think this meta is going to change quite a bit. Mainly because top lane tanks have been nerfed again. And it opens up for a lot of these new picks coming in, like more bruisers, split pushers, which will automatically change the entire meta, obviously.
We'll see what happens, but we also want to know what you guys think at home, and we want to ask you which champions will move into the must-pick ban category on 6.11 and why. Trevor, who would you must-pick ban?
I mean, Vlad's the obvious choice. You know, we've mentioned it a few times. I'm more excited to see what else will come out as a must-pick. You know, Vlad is off the table, even though Swain took some hits. Maybe he's going to rise in popularity. Betsy had some great performances with him last week. Faker's Anivia this week was impressive. I'd love to see Anivia coming out. We were talking off air about what champions we could see on 6.11.
Oh, that's yours?
And Bird is the word.
Okay.
That's the one I want to see.
Okay.
We'll see what happens.
Interesting.
You really have something to say.
I just want to, you know, I want all of us to pick one champion we think is going to show up.
Nami.
You say Nami's
We've seen
here.
it already.
Fine.
I mean, I still
All
want
right,
to see
that
it.
is one champion.
I'm going to go with Ashe because I think Ashe has seen a lot of popularity over in LCK and LPL.
Cheating a little bit.
On 6.10, though. They've seen her in 6.10. Now, on 6.11, Lucian I don't think is going to be banned anymore. I don't think he will be a ban. Caitlyn will be the new ban, and now we need engage AD carries. We need the Sivir, we need the Ashe, but Ashe, I think, will be one of the priority AD.
All right, and yours?
I say Laui top lane, but it's a very risky one. She can only win lane, and then she has to snowball completely out of control.
Okay, we'll see what happens. But
Wait for it.
you know, we asked you guys at home, who do you think will be must-pick ban? So tweet your responses at LOL Esports and use that hashtag EULCS, and we're going to talk over them in the post-game lobby. That's at the end of the day. Time for some matches, though, starting off with H2K versus Giants. Let's dive into H2K first week. 2 ties for them. And when we were talking in our preparation this week, a lot pointed towards the fact that they weren't very aggressive when they had a lead. One person, though, that did do that is Jankos. He seems to always be the catalyst. 94% kill participation for him.
In half of the games.
Yeah.
If Jankos wasn't doing something, the team wasn't doing something. And it just felt like H2K were not fully on the same page in the games that they lost. But when they won, it was very good. It was very clean. But I just felt when the teams were even, they were just so passive in the mid game. They weren't trying to play proactive and weren't trying to force their opponents to make mistakes and react.
It's been a problem for H2K before. Obviously, they want to make sure they only take these like low-risk opportunities and go for them, but it's very hard if the other team is playing correctly, like Schalke actually did in their games. So I just want to see a little bit more aggressiveness. I think it's fine from time to time to make a poor play because you try to set up for a bigger play, and that's something they should work on.
We'll see what happens. They are still the favorites in this matchup going up against the Giants, as said. Really rough start for them, 0-4 versus G2 and Vitality coming up the back of week 1. Yet, Vedias, you had your eyes on Knight in the mid lane?
Yes, because Knight. Now, what impressed me the most is if you look at his statistics, he's not the best mid laner, just based on statistics alone. But I feel like that doesn't paint the whole picture for Knight as a player because he went up against Perks and went up against Featherven, both regarded as maybe the strongest mid laners in Europe
The
right
strongest.
now. The strongest mid laners. So we can quite confidently say that. And he was only, during the laning phase, he was only down on average 3 CS at 10. I mean, that's quite an impressive stat line in the fact that he was holding his own in lane. The problem for Giants is just the team around him seemed to be collapsing. And can Maxlor set up the pressure? Can Smitty J draw that pressure up to the top lane? I just feel like what Giants need to do is get the attention off of Knight so that he can rise to glory.
Yeah, versus G2, we saw when Maxlor put some pressure on it, went better for them. We'll see what happens. Now, moving on to the LCS studio, OG is taking on Vitality. Very, very interesting match. Obviously, both squads had a rough start, one a bit rougher than the other. Vitality drew twice, once versus Splice, once versus Fnatic, and they had the slowest wins on average in week 1 and the fastest losses. What does that tell you about them as a team?
Well, it tells me that they should change the AD carries. And they did.
Oh,
Both teams changed the AD carries. Obviously, Raya in here, the Danish shrimp, basically, is what it means.
I can barely see him.
He's hiding there behind Nuke Duck, obviously, as the new AD carry for them. Very aggressive guy, young kid, 17 years old, great mechanics. Will be a lot higher tempo they're going to play now, obviously, from a Vitality side with him compared to Police. And then Pick is AD carry as well.
Wait, would you just jump in? Obviously, OG is who they're up against. Oh, yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
He is up against someone who doesn't usually play AD carry, which brings us to Origin. It wasn't good last week. Obviously, we talked about, the confidence subbing in Peke in that game, and now he's playing ADC. Obviously, you say you can't be too harsh on them, but somewhere you should have seen this coming, or not?
So, Peke is not known for his AD carry skills, but given that he is a veteran player, he's been in the league scene for a while, I think we can all safely agree that he knows how to play AD carry. Does he know all of the core mechanics in terms of rotations, lane swaps? Is all that knowledge there? Perhaps not, but in terms of the mechanical prowess, I still think Peke should at least be able to hold his own in the bottom lane.
Yeah, but the thing we need to see is how well he's going to match up in terms of this duo lane dynamic, because solo queue ADC versus competitive LCS ADC and, the duo and, zoning is going to be completely different. I am also very interested to see whether or not Origin can actually step up in terms of their shot calling and communication. In spring, the players were outspoken, saying Peke brought this level-headedness to the game. In the few games he played, they played better split push, better side lane. So I want to see if he can do that, but we've already seen how tough it is to call from the AD carry role. So it's a question of whether he can pull the high magic that like he did to Cloud9.
But that's basically it. Like, it's communication synergy instead. Yeah. Now, as an AD carry, he's not going to win you the game specifically. I don't think he's going to be useless. You can play Ezreal, Corki, these picks he used to play in the mid lane in the past. So there are options for him. Corki even got buffed this patch, just as an example.
All planned. In any case, as the team's ready up for picks and bans, it's time to send it over to the casters and kick off the week.
Thanks, Shocks. Daniel Draco's here with Mitch Krepo-Vorspools to cover the first series of the day between H2K and Giants Gaming. How you feeling? Good? You ready? You ready?
Swell.
Swell? We're working on the vocab this week? Yeah, we're trying it out. All right, let's just jump right into things. Let's take a closer look at these two squads, starting with H2K. Of course, in the top lane, it's going to be Oda Wamne. In the jungle, Yankos, mid, Ryu, AD carry Freeze, support Vander, and their coach Prawley.
Yeah, H2K. A little disappointed in what they brought to the table last week. Definitely top favorites usually when you expect, when you mention H2K, when you mention Freeze coming in for Forgiven, that's when you think, you know what, things will be the same. Macro style that probably likes to play, not too many risks, high rewards, but it wasn't there last week.
Yeah, and especially was not there for Freeze. You can see a couple of these teamfight clips just really struggling to work well with the team, and overall 44.9% kill participation. Not what you want to see, and consistently getting picked off in the side lanes here.
Yeah, and I think that's the biggest thing about the H2K. When you look at what's happening on screen, it's like, yeah, okay, Freeze, he was dead there. There was nothing he could have done. He couldn't outplay himself in that situation. The problem was getting into that situation in the first place. H2K wasn't getting enough done on the map. Eventually, they kind of hit the snooze, and then the other team punished.
Absolutely. But of course, let's shift our attention over to their opponents on the red side. It's going to be Giants Gaming in the top lane for them. Smitty J, of course, the guy we have to talk about. Jungle Maxlor, mid lane Knight, AD carry Sunstar, support Hustlin, and their coach Lozark. And a really rough first week for these guys.
I mean, Giants, they started 0-4. That is some people maybe expected out of them. We saw a glimmer of hope in Knight. That was kind of our focus point when we came into the story. It's like, guys, let's talk about Knight. Let's look up how good he is. Turns out he's not that good.
I think what Vedia said on the desk is right, though. He's holding his own in these otherwise very one-sided games. So maybe as the season moves forward, maybe as their schedule isn't quite as difficult, he may be able to get a chance to grow here and show off in these games. But
yeah, he had really good individual moments. But then overall, if you look at his stats, how they rank against other mid laners, he's still not quite there. But this is definitely a player we need to track in terms of evolution. And we have to remember that this Giants lineup went through a couple of changes. They have some young players that aren't really used to the LCS. So we need to see how it evolves. But they need to start improving quickly because all these other teams are working on things past the fundamentals. While Giants, they're still working on the fundamentals.
Absolutely, and one step behind overall, but as you said, new roster, maybe it can pull these things together pretty quickly. But of course, looking down to the bot lane as well, Sonstar, another one of the players on this lineup that's struggling. You can see massive CS deficits for him at 10 minutes, maintaining up into the 20-minute mark, but still, not where you want to be. A consistent 10 CS behind is not a good stat.
That's the benefit of falling behind early. You have at least you maintain that throughout the rest of the game. But yeah, that's about the best thing we can say about Sonstar. Underperforming individually, as well as not finding his role within the team very well. Needs to improve. Luckily for him, Freeze is underperforming to what people expected from him. We still need to see the Vander Freeze bot lane come out swinging, as many people, including myself, thought it could have like a hint of lane dominance, but it hasn't shown so far in the LCS.
Yeah, and this is a great opportunity for him to prove it. As you mentioned, Sonstar, another struggling AD carry. And if he can't be lane dominant here against someone who's struggling similarly as much as he is, where are we going to see that? Who else is going to give that up? Because right now, these guys both struggling, both some of the weaker AD carries right now, and they really need to kind of shift that perception really quickly in these early weeks if they actually want to have an impact for their teams.
And that's the thing about playing 4 games every week. The progression rate is much quicker. The amount of games we see, the sample size to base our opinions on is just vastly larger. That means we can really see evolution a lot quicker, but also you have less time in an absolute sense to improve.
Of course, though, now as we get into picks and bans, this is 6-11, so a lot of changes here, and we'll have to see what these bot lanes end up picking. Braum taken off the table, Rise following up as well. No surprises there that this is still not on the permaban list despite the nerfs.
Couple of comfort champs taken away here. Braum for hustling. They don't want to play Azir themselves here, H2K, so they just want to get rid of it. And Vladimir being out, I think, is a champion that we almost see 100% ban rate, I expect, because there are so few must bans that are left. The Fisho touched on it a little bit. This is a rather balanced patch, with only, for me, Rise and Vladimir truly standing out. Then obviously it makes it very easy for either team to say, you know what, I don't want to risk playing against that champion. Let's just ban it out.
Definitely something to consider. Of course, H2K up until this game had 100% ban rate on Vladimir. They always made sure to ban that champion out. Never wanted to see it, never wanted to put it into someone else's hands. This time around, Giants are going to take it, which means it's going to free up H2K to ban that Nidalee away from Maxlore. Still very powerful. Did see some nerfs this patch as well, but I think a little bit stronger than Kindred comparatively after Kindred was also hit incredibly hard.
Yeah, I'm going to keep my eyes, especially today, on how the bot lane 2v2 meta evolves, because if you look at over North America, there was a very high priority on even Zyra support, picked very often over the likes of Bard, which we thought was like tier 1 last week, and did some research into it, saw some matches as well. A very, very lane dominant character with a very easy poke and harass style. We may see that picked up later on. High utility in teamfights too.
Yeah, absolutely. But of course, the bans are coming in very quickly. First pick Trundle on the side of H2K. Still an option for that to be a flex pick here, depending on what's locked in. But despite the nerfs, Maxlore still opting to go with this Kindred here. Must still be pretty comfortable on the champion. Victor backing it up as well. Interesting to see first pick priority going over to this mid lane.
Yeah, the core of Kindred didn't get changed though. The champion still does things well, what she always did. With some of the mid lane bans out, and early Victor seems to be emerging as a top tier pick, and there's not that many counter matchups that punish him that hard left, especially if you get some early upgrades on the Hex core. Like his lasers just gonna be evaporating waves, making him very easy to play, and just yeah, highly potent in team fights. It's definitely scary to know Victor ulti, how much damage he can push out. So the Giants, they're already building towards a team fight comp with Victor and Kindred. That is very clear. And H2K, whenever you draft Trundle, you're playing at least a 1-4, maybe a 1-3-1. So definitely already in the first few picks, we see them building towards different results.
And very different, especially as the second rotation is locked in on the side of H2K. Maybe we have teamfight on the side of Giants, but I'm seeing a lot of pick potential coming in from H2K. We've got the Ashe, these utility AD carries that Vedi has talked about on the desk, as well as the Elise. Get those fights started on your terms from H2K.
Yeah, Ashe Elise, this is of a foregone era. This is a combination we have seen in the past of League of Legends. You need to have some synergy with each other. You definitely want to start firing from off-screen. Never want to fire that arrow in Vision, because then it's very easy to dodge. But when you can surprise people from Fog of War with some good pink wards, Vision Denial, Ashe Arrow is definitely a tool you need to have in your arsenal, especially on 6.11.
Definitely. And I think what's really interesting here is how H2K have kind of adjusted coming into this patch. Lucian no longer priority. No more Caitlyn for Freeze. They're instead putting him on a full-on utility AD carry, and maybe that alleviates a bit of the pressure on him, lets him serve more of a team-focused role as opposed to having to be that individual carry.
Yeah, and we're also seeing some player over in North America mentioned it last week in an interview. Can't remember who it was, but he's saying, well, the support metagame is kind of wide open, so they're in that sense, teams are kind of saving their support picks later and later to really have a big influence on the composition and give it the final kind of sense of direction. Here we see H2K as well, leaving it until the last rotation, seeing like Giants, what are you going to pick? Are you going to pick melee support? Because then we have a little bit more liberty. Or do we need to win the range support war? Where you pick one and we pick one that's either cheesier or stronger in terms of poke potential. Giants have drafted Sivir Karma, a lane that lanes incredibly dominantly if it can push. But if you can challenge the push, then obviously with Ashe plus Poke Champ on bottom lane, you can actually have some interesting bot lane dynamic.
And of course, just so hard to deal with that Sivir and that Ricochet, clearing out the early waves. Karma as well, an incredibly strong pick in the early game. But it looks like you're going to get your wish, Crepo. It was a priority in North America. It's made its way into Europe. That is going to be the Zyra support coming in for Vander.
And let me preface this by saying that I absolutely hate Zyra support as a player. I told many players this when I talked to them. It's like, why is it good? This champion must be bad. Then I got home yesterday, played a couple of games. They got my ass handed to me multiple times by Zyra players, and it's just she has easy gameplay to an extent. Her ass pattern is very easy to pull off, and it's just very consistent, and it's incredibly annoying to play against. So this is definitely what H2K is looking for. Lane dominant lanes on the side lanes with Trundle and with this Ashe Zyra, and then having the TF survive in mid lane. He actually lanes well into the Victor with decent mobility, sidestep lasers. He can challenge a push, so he won't get pushed in over and over, and then he can disappear. You will never force on a Victor lane, but you move away and you roam. So in that sense, TF is a good pick here. So I like what H2K have done. They need to snowball though. Make no mistake, with a pick comp like this, they need to get ahead in the early to mid game, because obviously the super strong teamfight comp from Giants will get ahead if they're allowed to group.
Absolutely, of course. Kindred and Sivir, as well as Victor, both such high damage threats. And while the changes to Kindred obviously have impacted her early game immensely, eventually that Dance of Arrows will start to hurt more. Maxler, I don't think he's going to get to that 8 to 10 stack range where it really starts to hit like a truck, but still something to consider. And of course, when you have a tanky frontliner like this Maokai, your team comp overall just excels in those team fight situations.
Yeah, we've seen some changes to the stacks. Even if you get a little bit lucky earlier, you won't get the natural snowball path as we've seen before, because then the stacks start shifting to more difficult targets to take later in the game, only on those epic monsters. Definitely need to see if these Kindred players are aware of that, incorporate that into their gameplay, or just ultimately weaker.
Yeah, interesting overall. But of course, looking at the two team compositions on your screen, if you think H2K can pull it out with the throwback Ashe Zyra lane, tweet out hashtag H2K win. Or if you think Giants are going to be able to pull it out with the old-fashioned murder train, the Sivir Karma, tweet hashtag GIA win as we get into our first game of the day in this best of two between H2K and Giants.
Yeah, you don't want to be a lone straggler left behind by the team when the pain train comes along. First off your face, if you're like Ashe, Zyra, Twisted Fate, like one flash Twisted advance from Smitty J is enough, so we need, and by we, I mean H2K, need to keep that guy down. He does have a favorable matchup here. I wonder even if Giants want to swap.
Will be interesting to see.
You can have the discussion in one sense that you dodge the Trundle Maokai matchup, but on the other hand, you open up the map, and if you open up the map with an Ashe and a Twisted Fate on the board, that may not be the best idea in the world.
Definitely something to consider. So much map mobility, map pressure with the Twisted Fate and the Ashe. One of those alts appearing anyway, or anywhere rather.
A lot of pings.
A lot of pings. Of course, moving in. They are going to get that ward, a nice little consolation prize from this early aggression. And Zyra continuously spawning plants here. Interesting to see moving forward. Of course, relatively calm in the early game. Doesn't look like anyone is moving for the lane swap quite yet. Calm plays. Backs coming out from H2K, though. Looks like they may want to shift to the top lane. I think they're just trying to get a read on this one.
Yeah, definitely trying to get a read on it. Bot lane is a skill matchup. We need to see whose poke is stronger. I think Ashe Zyra does have the edge, though. They just have easier poke and more repetitive to land. Sivir rather has a spell shield. I don't think they can manage as well. This might be one of the few matchups where it's counterintuitive to do a camp, because you lose too much.
Very interesting, of course. You can see finally at the end, Giants are going to come out with a lane swap. Sonstar and Hustlin moving up into the top lane. Although Hustlin gonna make the standard support stop off. Wants to just get some harass down. But Odoamne's here and waiting in the bush. This could be the ambush that they're waiting for. Hustlin taking a bit of damage here. Looks like he will just be able to walk this one out, and not at all what he wants to get in that early trade. But lane swap still going pretty much as expected for both sides.
Yeah, like teams adapting to, you know, the standard support invade, especially these matchups that don't really want to do camps. Like these lane push matchups, they can clear out a camp rather quickly. But they obviously get a big advantage from just pushing in early, pushing on the tower.
No.
I think pushing on second wave here. No top laners present just yet. And obviously these range supports plus poke AD carries are incredibly quick at lane stops too, because we talk about this all the time, but the whole goal is that you tank the creeps while you AoE them while hitting the tower. You know, as we see Karma right here tanking the creeps, wants to group them up for a big Mantra Q. Suddenly Boomerang from Silver flies through. A lot of AoE potential here. It should be a very quick lane swap for both teams.
Both teams coming out pretty fast on this. Giants normally a little bit behind, but feeling pretty comfortable overall so far. Maxlor making sure to clear out the jungle before he heads up to support his team. No real aggression anywhere quite yet. Really just waiting for that next step in the lane swap.
I also think H2K is somewhat okay with it. Yes, the Trundle won't get as much farm, so individually in a side lane matchup, he will be punished. But if you look at what Vizira brings, especially if we're looking at like a double swap scenario where we're playing for both tier 1s, she can spawn plants every time. They also take out one turret shot. So not only do those plants help you with killing the enemy creeps, they also absorb some extra turret shots, keeping your creeps alive longer. So she has a rather large impact in the lane swap scenario. Overall, it's only a matter of seconds, so we need to see what they can gain from it, obviously, and that's which dragon's going to spawn. And that appears to be a Cloud one today, so the benefit won't be that large.
Yeah, not going to find too much off the back of that first Cloud Drake. Still not a very high priority in competitive play. Really just the consolation prize when you have a lead in most situations. Ryu, of course, continuing to push in the mid lane here. Knight not looking too uncomfortable. Ryu, that's not really what he wants, but no aggression here as Knight is completely out of mana at this stage of the laning phase.
Yeah, he's just forcing a Knight to CS with his spells. Obviously not then being able to harass Ryu, and then Ryu has more sustain because he can infinitely replenish his mana with those blue cards. That is the laning pattern of a TF, and that's why this pick works. TF usually loses against rather lane-dominant picks, but Victor kind of rolls over and farms. He can do that in a lot of matchups, but it's kind of TF's lane pattern as well. But TF just does it slightly better, therefore he's actually getting a big CS lead here.
And of course the changes to Victor's Death Laser do make it so that he can play PvE just fine. Super easy to clear out those waves still, but actually trading with another champion very difficult. So Knight, no real tools to deal with the Victor or the TF on one-on-one.
And especially the sustained breakpoint is about to be hit here when Ryu hits its teleport. Knight's playing with Cleanse. That's obviously going to be a big hit. Right now he's staying somewhat even, but he has the base soon. That's going to be another 8 CS that he drops, and then we'll already have a window of opportunity for Ryu to port out these incredibly long lanes.
Yeah. Interesting itemization coming in as well as we see Odoamne working on this top lane tower. Do have the Catalyst coming down for TF early, so potentially Rod of Ages coming out in the early game. A scaling option for this TF. They want to take it early apparently, but also maybe want to have that kind of backup plan of the Rod of Ages.
It also just plays into the laning style that we were describing just now. You know, the very push-heavy, sustain type of deal that you want to do with the Catalyst, plus the blue cards. Just pushing the Victor over and over and hopefully find a pick on a side lane. Because yes, Odoamne is weaker right now, but so is this Maokai. If TF comes into that lane, Smitty J is level 3 right now. Ryu's vastly approaching level 6. Just at level 6, so he's 3 levels ahead of Smitty J, who's stuck on a very long lane. So if he walks down right now, I think he can legit just get a kill on Smitty whenever he wants.
Is pushing in the wave. We'll have the freedom to roam. Instead, opting to throw some shots onto this tower. Knight, of course, completely out of mana. Not at all where he wants to be overall. And really, we've got to keep our eyes on Jankos. Is going to clear out that vision here. Any kind of gank attempt going to be denied. But this man, First Blood King, he either goes down or he gets a kill.
That's not how a king works. Kings generally stay alive for a while. They send in other people to do the battle for them. But yeah, Jankos, very much so a participant.
Yeah, we give him the participation trophy. He showed up. He shows up every time. Of course, have to see if it's going to work out in his favor this time around, or if the trend will continue. Vander moving up as well. Looks like they are gearing up to put some pressure on this tier 2 tower. Giants on the opposite side, a little bit behind, opting to funnel some farm into Sonstar.
Yeah, but in these large lane swap scenarios, we see kind of the futility. That's only a few keystones.
No, we don't need the rest.
So you don't need the rest. 6
Only
is all
those
you need.
ones. Bot lane's always the same, right?
Here we go, teleportation.
Oh, moving in. Sonstar potentially in trouble. Good use of the spell shield there. Does block the yellow card.
Yeah. Feel like we missed some communication there. Going for the Sivir, ending up on the same side as your Trundle. Spell shield still being up. That's a big, we have to call it out what it was. That was a bad play by Ryu. That's a big mistake.
Yep.
Because you really have to make that first ultimate stick, especially when you're playing so carefree in this lane swap scenario.
Yep. Only has so much more time, too, where he's actually going to be able to keep this Victor pushed in. Maxler throwing down the mounting Dread. In goes Yankos. Quick flash over the wall. Vander in the pit as well, but he's just going to have to flash to safety. H2K, huge moment of mispositioning there.
Yeah, and that's what we're used to seeing from H2K week 1. They have this solid setup with some ways to kind of make the play, but then they wait, they hesitate, and eventually they realize they're hesitating, and then they force it too hard, almost. They try and chase a loss. Very poor strategy to do. And especially since they divided the map, the bottom half side of the map was kind of in their control. They yield top side, and they go for the one target that actually has a built-in counter to this TF card, which is obviously Sivir.
Yeah, and then immediately followed up with another play, as you mentioned. So really not waiting for those major cooldowns, trying to get something, determined to take advantage of what they have on the map, but just not paying off for them overall. Of course, another perk of this composition. The Hawk Shot, and as well as the TF Destiny, so a lot of vision utility available for both sides. But looking across the map, things are pretty much even everywhere. No one really striking any major blows against the other team. H2K with a decent lead at this stage of the game, actually, moving up to 1K. And that's just these tiny farm advantages in every lane.
Good old Hawk Shot. Reminiscent of the times where we had Clairvoyance.
Do you remember when supports took Clairvoyance?
I remember. The guessing game.
Where are they going to be?
They gotta be.
Maxlor continuing to clear out. Ryu pushing up the mid lane.
The best Clairvoyance play still was that Fnatic bait.
The bait, where they Clairvoyance the bush that they're in.
It's like, clearly we won't be here because we just used Clairvoyance.
See, that's the thing. The mind games just aren't a thing.
Wrong.
No, yeah, they're not. It's not like it used to be, you know? Now we got Baron baits, but there's no more Clairvoyancing your own bush. That was a terrible summoner spell.
What? We're part of a team. No combat stats whatsoever. Find the jungler. Back then, you could also invisible CS track. So you see the CS go up in Fog of War.
Figure out where they're at. Ryu trading back. Maxler making his way into the mid lane. I think Knight going for the bait here. Yeah. His acting skills. Maybe enough, actually. Ryu.
I mean, both these guys will play at max range, and the moment somebody steps in beyond what is the expected lane pattern, you know something's fishy. Flash flank here from Smitty. Obviously, Ryu playing towards the strong side, very important. We need to see an Ash Arrow. We're also seeing some of the weaknesses of these range support, especially in lane swap scenarios where they end up under level. They're just not a threat. If level 4 Thresh walks into your lane, or a Braum, and you can connect the Q, something, you're caught. But Zyra Snare is an incredibly slow traveling particle. Karma Q explosion is, yeah, kind of futile, especially when the damage component is relatively weak because you're under leveled. So that's why we see these guys kind of hug their AD carry, and it slows the game down a lot.
Really limiting the roam potential coming out from Hustlin or Vander, as you said, just sticking there. Now focusing in on Sonstar, you can see going for the BF sword, has the Cole, doing okay so far this game.
Yeah, he's down on CS, but that's because he's respecting this matchup, because he never wants to use his spell shield on a trade with Volley, because that puts him at risk of getting arrowed. And that's kind of counterintuitive, because you think Sivir's a good pick with the spell shield, but in this laning scenario, rather, if he gets a spell shield down once, obviously he's under threat of Fog of War. Right now, Yankos is moving in, though.
Potentially in trouble. Ryu coming up. They want to use the Destiny here. Yankos taking a lot of damage. Chain comes out, going to snare him up. Smitty J on the backline. They're moving in. That's first blood coming out. Smitty J now moving for more. H2K on the retreat, but here comes the TP from Odo. Trying to make it out. That's a double kill. The Victor damage. Absolutely massive. Giants. 3 kills instantly.
Yeah, pop goes Smitty J, and this is definitely the teamfight composition that we were praising from Giants. If H2K group, they fail to make their first pick stick, and they can't make it at 45, yeah, then obviously they will roll over and die. And with that death, that is the third first blood this season already that Yankos has given up. So still has that participation prize. Sadly on the wrong end of things. Yeah. And this is just bold. You can't move in blind Obviously, wastes his repel as well. Doesn't get the maximum amount of seconds there. And H2K don't finish off Maxwell here, who still has his ulti. And at this point, good sidestep from Maxwell on the cards too. Look at Smitty J. Gets a speed up from Karma. Teleport is too late for a team initiating this play. H2K is not on the same page, especially when you consider that they're going for kind of a team play when they're a pick comp. They had no pressure on the other side of the map. Usually when you go for an aggressive move on one side and you're playing split push pick, you kind of want to force the teleport back off and then have Ottawama take an advantage on the top side of the map, whether it's farm or tower. So very knee-jerky reaction from H2K.
Yeah, and really just not quite on the same page in terms of ultimate usage. Freeze finally using the arrow, but it's just to try to save his comrade there. Doesn't work out in the end. Ryu trying to zone the Victor out, but really at the end of the day, Jankos getting caught forces them to play around that, and Giants more than happy to capitalize.
Yeah, and it gives Sunstar the breathing room he was looking for too. He was down like 30 CS right now, 14, but also a couple assists to bridge that gap.
Definitely, I mean, happy to have that back. Jankos, though, maybe hoping to get a little bit.
He spotted around the corner. That has to be so satisfying for Maxlor. Just
peeking it out.
Peeking from the backside. Yeah, that guy's hiding. Don't walk.
Vander throwing down what damage he can.
Those plans are nasty, by the way. They kill them immediately. People just love standing there and watching them. Like, oh, that's cool. Nice
Garden tour.
Some nice concept R2. Really good job by the R team. No, they hurt. Especially on supports. We don't have much resistances, so taking down for us, help us.
Moving in, though, we talked about, well, Ryu and Knight trading here in the mid lane, but looking at the top lane, Trundle looks to be moving towards the split push build here. Titanic Hydra potentially on the way. But at the end of the day, any advantage he does have, the 20 CS balanced out, Vander's going to throw down some more of those nasty plants. Because Smitty J has 2 kills at this stage, and the early Sunfire Cape making this lane so much easier.
Here we go, TF ulti reactionary.
Destiny comes in, arrow flash pass, but it's going to hit Hustlin in the end. They're backing off. They don't quite have the damage. Maxlor, Cocoon not going to hit. They are going to burn on the hunt and just walk out of that situation. Good defense from H2K, but not getting too much.
Yeah, Knight's always ready to move, so he was lurking on the top side. I was wondering if he would have liked to take the aggressive path in the jungle and then just went for a flash ulti there. Because H2K, when they're chasing, they bunch up. There's enough mobility in Giants to not get one shot. Obviously, the Kindred ulti buys enough time, too, for whichever characters are not in the fight coming to the fold. And then obviously, when you're bunched up focusing a single target, Knight can come in and just single-handedly win the team fight.
Yeah, Knight on that Victor. We talked about how terrifying it can be, and he's ahead in CS now in the lane. He has those 2 assists as well, building towards that Morel and Omicron. Things appear to be going well for him so far, and Ryu, yes, he's stacking up that rod, but just hasn't been able to have any impact on the map quite yet. Consistently trying to find picks, trying to help the team, but it just hasn't come together for H2K yet.
Yeah, right now H2K should be fine holding here, and they're trying a different approach. Freeze is taking his time on the bot wave, perhaps not freezing it, but definitely a nice little chill on that wave. Very slowly pushing it out, and it forces Knight and Sunstar to share farm in the mid lane while they're trying to maybe siege, but it's very hard to push in this TF if you get access to the wave early.
A little bit concerning as well, because leaving Freeze in the side wave has been pretty detrimental for H2K overall. Haven't seen him come to too many team fights.
Yeah, and this is the expected result, and of course, a bit of a siege going on. No hard CC.
Locked up, chaining the CC, Cleanse comes out. We'll have the flash to safety. Both summoners burn, but not a whole lot traded.
Yeah, and this is just a trading of resources. H2K can hold fine 3 versus 4 in the mid lane because there's no hard engage component on the side of Giants, which means they can challenge the wave. And obviously, Freeze gets a massive advantage in terms of resources. 33 CS ahead again. Oh, he just was even. So this is a good little move, a good macro move here from H2K.
Definitely allowing them to get some pressure on that top side. Laid down some vision. Yes, they give up the Cloud Drake, but not anything to be too concerned about quite yet.
Just wasn't there yet.
Just isn't quite enough. Of course, it looks like Rift Herald is going to be started up. Not something we normally see priority put on here, but it looks like H2K are pretty committed to letting Ottawamne split push.
Yeah, one of the reasons you don't see that much priority in the early game, as we see Arrow. Yeah, that's
we're gonna keep following.
We're gonna follow it.
No,
make sure he gets
to
the
end.
Now we're just tracking the Karma. Hustle and settling is very important.
Of course, you can see on your screen out of combat movement speed, and now Rift Herald going down in the favor of H2K, but Ottawamne is taking a lot of damage. Maxlor's burning pretty quick, though. The Trundle does hurt, but he is going to drop in the end. Lamb's Respite goes down. Knight sitting in it. There's no way he's going to drop. The heal comes in. H2K on the way. The double kill, though, for Knight. Ryu in the back line trying to get something. Zyra ult will stop Smitty J. If they're trading back, that's the 3 for 2. Looking to make it more. Hustlin's overstepped, and H2K, what a turnaround.
Yeah, H2K turned around because they have a distinct members advantage. They go for the objective, and this time everybody's around to join the fight, whereas Sunstar is stuck on the bottom lane. Yes, he gets the push, he gets the tower, but these little picks snowballing individual members like Ryu and TF is what H2K want. They want isolated kind of gold. They want a couple of members to be very strong so they can decide where to make the picks. Giants, we'll see running the team fight. They don't really care who the gold goes to as much because they all have their role.
Very true, and of course, things still going pretty well for Giants in terms of the kill score, but the gold is steadily starting to grow in the favor of H2K. Freeze in the bottom lane, and then, of course, this fight as well.
Yeah, they're also just engaging on Jankos. Then Odawama takes aggro. Ryu steps in. Has to be careful, though. Sidesteps the second part of the laser, which is good. They're just buying time here, because now Freeze arrives, and a really good Zyra ultimate coming in here. Survive and carry back.
Yeah, worked out well now, but the pressure's on in the mid lane as Giants start to push in. Vander's still waiting on the cooldowns for that Strangle Thorns, and the tower will drop in the favor of Giants, now evening out the turret score overall. You can see that buff on your screen for Odawamne.
Yeah, and that lasts quite a while, this Rift Arrow buff. That's why you take it as late as possible, because it doesn't really matter in the early game as much. It's not quite impactful, but the percent obviously means more later in the game. That's why you kind of want to take it at the 16, 17, 18 minute mark. Put it on your split pusher, your top laner usually, and have him get great benefit from it.
Yep, a nice little bonus static shiv as well. Going to make it already hard for Maokai to trade with that Trundle at this stage of the game. Going to make it even harder. Now, H2K moving up to the top side. This is some pretty proactive play from them. They may look to burn down this tower, and Giants are nowhere to be seen. 3 members on the way, but the tower's going to drop. H2K too quick on the draw here.
Good awareness from H2K. Sunstar stuck yet again in the bottom lane, trying to fix a movement that H2K put into place first. They push out bottom wave, or it was pushing out, and then Sunstar's trying to fix that problem, but leaves his top side exposed. And especially on a champion like Sivir, you need to be around your team. He needs to give the speed boost to Smitty J, because in terms of hard catch, Giants have very little. There's a lot more CC and pick potential on H2K.
Oh, not going to find it quite yet. Destiny used along with the arrow.
Field goal.
Freeze, gearing up. Ryu just going to teleport to the blue buff, of course. Doesn't want to follow up on that play after the arrow has been missed. We'll have it up shortly, though. Perks of the Essence Reaver.
Yeah, it's always good to use that Destiny the second you kind of try and engage, to get a gauge on fights. H2K, they slowed down about 5 minutes ago, but they're understanding their comp again. Now Freeze, little over eager, has to flash. There was a looming threat here from Knight on the side too. QE flash is enough to just take down an AD carry. Victor incredibly strong.
Of course, something that they have to consider playing a little bit more carefully. Trundle still split pushing on the bottom. Really cannot afford to get caught on the top side. In the meantime, Sunstar happy to catch that wave as Knight and Maxlor teaming up, roaming around as the pair here. And Odo, relentless in this pressure. Smitty J kind of just relegated to this wave clear duty.
And this is a concept that we kind of saw from Origin in week 1 as well, where it had a very strong group comp. For example, they ran double poke with Maokai. And yeah, if you group, fight around an objective, great. Comp is fantastic. But if you give up lane priority, which generally translates to whoever pushes first. So Trundle is always pushing the Maokai. These side lanes are being pushed in because Sunstar can't get there because he'll overextend due to the risk of getting picked off. That's why always you'll see TF and Ashe kind of push it out. Not necessarily always because they're stronger 1v1, but because there's just a greater risk of too many people joining the fight. Random arrows coming out, TF ultis.
Yep.
So there's lane priority on the side lanes, which means Giants always kind of dealing with a problem. And it's not allowing them to group up, and that is the way H2K want to win this game. They want to split up the Giants lineup, make them deal with all the problems they create, and then still find an opening where they can get a pick off with an arrow or a Destiny.
Something that we have to look at, though, is as this Mountain Drake starts to spawn, Trundle's on the bottom side as well, so there's not a whole lot of split pressure. And Odawame could be in trouble. Pillar comes out, Maxlor on the way in, Flash mounting Dread. He continues to push forward. Odoamne just trying to flash away as well. Smitty J flash, he's going in. They're going to try to burn through that Trundle's health bar. He is set to drop. Great play coming in from Giants.
Yeah, and that's a good reaction from Giants. They see the opening. They realize that if they move in numbers and there's no crossmap potential on the top side, they can actually make a good pick off in the bottom side.
TF on the
Smitty
way
J,
in.
though.
Smitty, that's not the TP your team needed. Drops down in the end as the rest of his team looks for the Dragon. And H2K are pinging the mid lane. They want to trade something back.
Yeah, I wonder why he went for that play. Maybe he was trying to get to the mid wave and kind of proxy it, good old Marin style. He probably was trying to deal with some sort of rotation in the mid lane here. Let's see how this plays out.
On the hunt, burned. Vander burning down so quickly. Chaos Storm, that is an insane amount of damage. Jankos is going to drop. No kills traded back yet, but a lot of cooldowns burned. H2K managed to back off with their lives.
So both top laners fall. The Dragon goes to the side of Giants. They did finish it off.
Yep, so Mountain and a Cloud backing them up now. They'll make it back to lane a little bit faster, and it'll be a little bit easier for them to burn down the towers or this Baron if they ever find a good enough position to do so. However, Ryu, as well as Odoamne, just continuing to push out these side lanes, as you said, trying to get that pressure down on the map.
Yeah, you need to lock him down. It's like a wrestler putting down his opponent. If you give him 1 or 2 free arms, he's just gonna, if he's stronger, he will take you down. And that is what Giants is. They are stronger in these team fight scenarios. You saw the power right there. If they can get behind you or one flank, if they can allow Smitty J to connect with Twisted Advance on any member, Giants can win. Obviously, later on, if we get more damage on these carries, they'll need to be a little bit careful, because the late game TF plus Ashe can kite you very, very well.
Hard to deal with the red cards and the arrows, but Giants, they have the confidence to pull the trigger here. They're ready to start the Baron. Ashe arrow goes in. It's going to hit Knight. Cleanse comes out. The turnaround. Jankos up in the air. Going to drop Smitty on the front line. On the hunt. Burn. Giants actually taking a lot of damage on the backside. Maxlore using that heal, using the invulnerability to keep this fight going, but H2K absolutely have the momentum. Destiny comes out, and it's Giants' destiny to fall, but Rio, he's going to drop first. What was he thinking? Odo, he's on the chase, but they're not going to be able to grab anything. Vander playing footsies with Maxlore in the jungle. I don't know if he's going to be able to get this one either. Jumps in. Gromp, that's the assist you wanted.
Technically a 2v1. Maxlore signed his own death note right there by attacking the Gromp. Good kiting by H2K. They approached the fight correctly. They engaged, got the arrow, and a big mistake from Sunstar.
Oh, Sunstar moving in. He is going to grab the kill on Desira. But that's just the consolation prizes. Baron still looking to fall. The heal comes out. They need that smite from Jankos. They're trying to push it down. H2K do secure the Baron 24 minutes in. They're backing off. And Giants may be pushing in for more.
That is not a 7,000 gold power play. But yeah, a lot of things happened that fight.
That was incredibly chaotic.
Yeah, let's go over them one by one. It was Giants starting the Baron. Why? Because they wanted to force H2K's hand. They say, you know what? We are teamfight comp, come teamfight us. But this right here, Spell Shield popped, but Sunstar walks backwards. He doesn't take the arrow for Knight. So Knight right now is already on 50% utility. Smitty J is zoning, but there's nobody dealing damage because both Knight and Sunstar were kind of walking back. So disoriented. This forced a very early ultimate from Maxlore. And at this point, due to really good kiting and obviously the Baron helping heaps of damages across the board too for Giants, it was just an ill-advised fight. It was too much. And then Maxlore accidentally attacks Gromp here. And he received 2v1.
Just nice little assist. We'll just get the boop. Got him.
The BM kill. It's like, yeah.
Yeah.
Gromp is like my Pokemon.
Yeah, gonna finish him off. Go, Gromp! Use, what is the Gromp's attack even called?
It's called Spittle.
Spittle. It worked.
Pokemon never really attack trainers. That would be a little bit morbid.
Yeah.
Go Charizard.
He tried to attack Wolf, right? Because Wolf is like Kindred's Pokemon. Of course, as we get super sidetracked here. Tower is going to drop in the mid lane. H2K, though, now have that power of the Baron in their hands and may look to continue pressuring. Odoamne, he's doubled up on the buffs. Glimpse of the Void. Got the Baron buff as well. Happy to push out in the bottom lane, but he's just going to back off. He sees Giants retreating. He doesn't want to take any risks here.
Definitely strengthen numbers. Giants can easily still win a fight if the Victor ultimate plus laser connects on a key target. So need to be wary of that. Also, we saw Smitty J walk forward. See a pick off here on the Maokai. And when alone, obviously, he can get taken down. It will take quite a while. Ryu's tanking too much. Arrow goes wide.
Just barely missing, but as you said, Ryu tanking so much damage from the tower. He's going to have that Rod of Ages to heal up, but it looks like he's just going to back off. TP, of course, available for him as well, and H2K will walk away with the turret unscathed.
Yeah, the planted turret zone is enough to take down these outer turrets. It may prove difficult to take down the base. But we see H2K, they're understanding how to play the game. They want to take down SmittyJ in scenarios where he can't impact the team fight. So either where he overextends to zone, as we saw in the Baron fight, he was trying to defend his team, but his team was not using the time where he was tanking damage to return damage of their own. Then obviously you drop, or simply you pick him off when you divide. Divide and conquer, always the way to play for these pick comps.
And definitely just these little bits of miscoordination really playing against Giants overall. Maxlor, though, on the side, on the hunt, burned.
Yeah, Sunstar deciding it's time to fight because
SmittyJ is in there. They've got the flank. He's not going down at all. Ryu taking so much damage. Zanya comes out. Freeze, though, throwing out the auto attacks, but he doesn't have enough to fight Smitty just yet. And oh my god, the Victor damage. They're pushing for more. Maxlor throws down the respite. Not a single member of Giants is dropped, and it doesn't look like one will. That is a 3 for 0.
Yeah, 3 for 0. H2K showed the strength of their composition when they were singling out SmittyJ just a moment earlier. Giants replied, you know what, you showed yours, I'll show you mine. Flank from Maokai in the backline, instant connect on the carries, and obviously that freed up Sunstar and Knight to do damage pretty much unscathed. And then Maxlor at the end of the fight can always pop his ulti. So that was the dream fight for Giants. They closed the gap here, looking to get some more spoils out of this one team fight.
Very hard for Jankos to approach this tower. Vander doing what he can with the plants. Decent amount of damage onto Knight, but Defiance will make sure that the team makes it out safely. One more Mountain Drake on the menu as Maxlor tries to solo this one out. And I gotta say, coordination for team fights was back and forth for Giants, but when it counted, they were finally able to get on the same page. Maxlor, though, still gonna be able to get this one. Arrow not going to land.
I'll teleport from the top, though. Look for the pillar to just kind of go on full-on Gandalf on this one.
They are going to pass, though. Slow and steady, Odoamne.
Yeah, you still do not want to run into a Victor. Maybe half HP, but you'll soon be that as well if you chase into him.
Comes out, though. We can watch that one more time. Just a beautiful flank here and great engage from Giants.
Look at how he pressed W. What a skilled Maokai player. But yeah, he did exactly what he needed to do. The lone ward is kind of the victor of that fight.
Yeah, really.
Whoever placed that one won the team fight. And I feel like Sunstar's reputation helped him there too. Because when he popped on the hunt, it looked like a waste to us too. And I wonder if H2K was thinking the same too. He's just tilting, pressing R and Sivir, and suddenly Maokai strikes from the back.
Ends up being the right call. The team seemed to hesitate for a second, but finally capitalizing on SmittyJ's presence in the back line. H2K have to be a little bit more careful. Giants pushing in for more vision. Maxlor getting aggressive, takes a lot of damage. Arrow is going to land. Can they burn him down before the respite? They are going to be able to, actually. Sivir moving in to try to do what she can, but she's running tail tucked between her legs. H2K, they get the Kindred, and they're just going to have to walk away with the single kill.
And Maxlor flashed, wasn't aware of the traveling arrow that was following him. One auto attack from Freeze took him down at the end there. Respite stayed down. I like the boldness in his dash. As the stun hit him, he dashed forward. Obviously Knight having to deal with Odoamne.
Knight potentially in trouble, just walks into the safety of the gravity field. The fight is already starting though. Sunstar looking for the 1v1. Ryu taking a lot of damage. Destiny coming out. Where's he gonna go? Looks like they're just going to back off here. Is going to try to find the flank above, but Giants retreating in the top lane. They're gonna be able to walk away safely. Ryu now running back to mid.
And this is obviously the point of the game where if Odoamne joins these fights healthy at the start, he can obviously ulti SmittyJ, and suddenly the one tank lineup from Giants is reduced to a 0 tank lineup with that Trundle ultimate. And that's exactly why Smitty wants to connect as early as he can on one of these carries. Twisted advance on Ryu, on Freeze, take them down, do his job, trade his life favorably for one of the carries. Because Sivir Victor is enough as a double damage, like threat combo, to win team fights on their own.
I think we've seen that Victor.
Victor's a double threat composition.
Yeah. There's the first half of the laser and the second half of the laser. And I mean, just terrifying how much damage this guy's been able to put out. You said it at the start, the new Chaos Storm just so much stronger, and every time that thing ticks, someone is losing half their health.
It's also so hard to learn how to play against because you're used to this continuous flow of damage for Victor. So if you're a League of Legends player that just came back and it's like, oh, this ultimate doesn't do that much damage as you walk in and out of it, and you're just moving in between tick rates, haphazardly, and then you just get a couple of ticks like, oh, I see what they changed. I do not like this change.
See, you got a lot of time to see too, because you're probably dead if you get hit by 1 or 2 ticks at this stage of the game. Jankos, the rest of the team moving forward. A lot of seeds set up. And of course, Rylai's coming out for the victor as well, so incredibly hard to escape here.
Yeah, exactly. That just works together with that build. You know, the laser slows you down. Suddenly the ulti is chasing you. It's like a bad B-tier horror movie, like a drama movie getting chased by a storm. Can he escape? Can he not? Does he have to flash?
It's the day after tomorrow of League of Legends. Maxlor taking a ton of poke damage. A lot of high-range champions on the side of H2K. They don't want to fight quite yet. Just continuing to throw these spells out. Baron, once again, the point of contention for both these teams. Cloud Drake next on the way, but not really an objective worth fighting over. Flash moving in, great coordination here. Maybe looking for more gravity field drops. Maxlor is going to get the Lamb's Respite down. Here comes the re-engage. Ryu, the sole target of the Chaos Storm, moving in. Stranglethorn, Smitty J in the backline, but he doesn't get Jankos. No, the Sapperling will seal the kill, but they get one back. Smitty J finally falling, but he does get the jungler.
Yeah, this is where you really need to shift your playstyle on the fly. It's very hard to play Maokai. As we were joking, it's like, you look at the Flash W earlier, it's actually quite hard to play Maokai in some of these scenarios, because sometimes your role is literally to do what Smitty J just did. Hard peel going forward, but his entire team was kind of kiting backward just now, so he too should have fled from the fight. Let's see this again. The layering isn't quite perfect. Ryu card just came out a fraction of a second too late, and at this point, Giants, they're disengaging, but Smitty J is stuck in the back actually trying to peel. So in this scenario, there was actually not much he could have done other than possibly cancel the teleport. Yes, he teleported in, so he probably should have just canceled straight up his teleport.
Yeah.
But it's so hard to read that in that scenario. I don't think anybody could have made that read.
Very, very difficult call to make, and if you don't teleport, the team fight can just turn against you so quickly.
The team just couldn't follow up on the Zyra ulti. Once Zyra puts her ulti down, you can't charge through it. Half your team will at least get stuck, and then it's a very easy cleanup and very easy target selection for H2K. So that's why these fights are incredibly hard to play at this point in the game from Giants if H2K are the ones driving them. We need a surprise. Giants, they're looking for a random pickup, a flash twisted advance, so that the Zyra ulti is kind of reactionary instead of part of the kiting process.
Yeah, both teams with the tools to just blow someone up if they get the opportunity, but can't afford to join the fight second.
Oh, Knight's kind of stuck on the side here. Yeah, that means the Baron has to be stopped. And that means bot lane is getting pushed in because, as we mentioned earlier, no teleport on Maokai, which then the reactionary play from Giants is going to be, guys, we have to start Baron here, 4v5, withstand the poke.
All comes out. Great block from Sonstar. No one else going to get it. Baron steadily dropping. TP comes in from Odo. Smitty J once again alone in the back line. Giants grab the Baron. That's a huge buff to their power, but Odo keeps throwing out shots. Storm comes down. Lamb's Respite saving the day here a little bit for Odoamne. Will the tick stack? He's going to have to flash to safety. Smitty drops. Ryu maybe looking for the flash over the wall. Doesn't have it, and Giants once again.
Yeah, and they have improved recall, so while this teleport from Ryu comes out and finishes out the tower, it will not net any more benefit. It all started with the arrow connecting on Hustlin, but there was no follow-up, and it was all about saving Private Smitty J for Maxlor. Ball enough time, disengage, and then Smitty J did the good thing, sacrificing his life, so his team could get out of there.
I gotta say, good focus coming in from Giants, knowing that they just wanted to burn down the Baron, not looking for that fight. H2K going to pick up their first Dragon of the game. Definitely not the one they may be excited about, but let's take a look at this team fight and exactly how this went down. A beautiful block to start it off.
Yeah, was it though? I think Hustlin got hit by it, but you didn't see him because he was kind of knocked up by the Baron. Regardless, Smitty J moves forward while his team then focuses on Baron. There was no steal from H2K. Lamb's Respite, the team realized they're going to lose this fight, so they all kite backwards. There's no more Destiny available, and they get out, so really, really good split-second decision-making from Giants because they found themselves without teleport, stuck on the wrong part of the map. Their base was going to shambles, so this was the only call they could make. It was risky. They made the right call, got the Baron. It looked a little iffy when Knight was kind of cut off, but there's a reason H2K didn't commit for him. It's because he has Cleanse, and he can always turn around after the arrow hits and just evaporate Ryu when Ryu wants to teleport in.
Yeah,
you just put the gravity field on the TF ulti, whack away with laser and ulti, Ryu will have to zone yes, and then you walk away.
pretty easy to disengage in that scenario. Victor, of course, if you ever want to enter his personal space, you're going to have to tank a lot of damage. And of course, looking at the top
Gotta befriend him.
Yeah.
Give him some cupcake.
Please. Or alternatively, you make him come to you, which not really an option for H2K at this stage of the game. While Giants have been pushing in, one of the strengths of this composition with the TF, the Zyra, and the Ashe is that it's pretty easy for H2K to clear out those waves, even with the Baron empowerment.
How does one enter Victor's personal space?
Flash cocoon. You just don't give him a time to react, right? Surprise.
Hawkeye hooks usually help.
There you go.
They're on the wrong team right now.
Yeah, of course. We talked about limited options here.
All right, now we need to see if they can hold off the siege. You have a couple of good like movement blockers, plants slow you down, pillars make it so you can hit your poke, but in raw teamfight prowess, Smitty J will still be a little bit tanky.
Oh my gosh, Vander.
Yeah, welcome to the Zyra sport.
Smitty J moving forward. They're just going to take this one down pretty easily. Gold still in the favor of H2K.
And even with Odawamne ulting Smitty right now, it'll take too long, I think, for H2K to focus him down. Because there's so much damage on the back end of this fight. Look at Knight, look at Sunstar, what they can do here. See if H2K can hold.
Looks like they are just going to be able to clear out the wave. Neither side ready for a fight quite yet. Freeze hoping to find that arrow.
Yeah,
just so hard, though, with that cleanse coming on from Knight.
Yep, momentarily truce here. Giants have 3 dragons. And those effects will get doubled if they can get access to an Elder. And obviously the burn will come in, and then suddenly those little poke spells that they have will obviously be a lot more potent. And I think that's what they're looking to play for. See if they can keep control of the map, not allow H2K to play the divide and conquer strategy again. See if they can get access to more objectives like a dragon, like a Baron eventually. Obviously Maxlor will need that too for his stacks at this point. Let's see where he's at.
Of course, though, looking at how the team has played thus far, H2K still looking for those picks. Freeze still throwing out those arrows left and right. Not finding purchase too much, unfortunately, for the side of H2K. But really just waiting for that Baron, waiting for that Elder Dragon. One more opportunity for Giants to find a team fight. In the meantime, H2K really need to figure out how they want to play this, because without picks, it's going to be nigh impossible to win a lot of these fights.
I wonder if it actually makes sense for Maokais to build kind of a revive into their kit, get the Guardian Angel, under the assumption that you go in, you get ultied by Trundle once, and you die. And then you just spawn again late enough that all your resistances are restored. Maybe more beneficial than trying to just get a lot of them and have a relative large amount stolen, but still have enough left over.
Yeah.
To deal with the fights.
Something to consider too, especially for Smitty J, who has consistently been running into the team fight. Sometimes a little too ahead of the rest of his teams.
Yeah, sometimes it was also his team's fault, you know? You're the one dying. It's like, oh, Smitty. It's like, guys, I'm just trying to save your behinds here.
Of course, though, the strategy from H2K is coming out. They're looking to split up the team. Smitty left to try to perfect that inhibitor, but it's not going to happen. Giants, in the meantime, will be able to grab that tier 2 tower, but with H2K breaking the first inhibitor, this is a huge pressure advantage in their favor.
Yeah, and it's honestly a mistake. It's hubris from Giants to assume that they can take down something on the other side of the map while not losing the individual split push. Remember, there's also teleport from Ryu, now arrow on the back end.
It's going to land on the hustle, and Destiny comes out. He will get the stun. Good flash from Ryu. That's the pickup. Smitty J TP's in, but it may be too little too late because Odawamne is here as well. Looking for the chomp, both using the Randuins. Looks like they're going to be able to make it out. Odo backs off, but H2K, huge advantage.
Yeah, the right approach for Giants with the Life Lead has just been to secure their side of the map, have some backup for Smitty, because there's no reason to go for outer tier 2. You will never breach the base. They couldn't breach the base without the Baron. How are they going to get any advantage? They couldn't do it with the Baron, rather, so they can't definitely achieve it without the Baron, so they kind of spread too thin, and they allowed Odawamne to take the base. And there's nothing to play for on the map other than Dragon and Baron, which haven't even spawned yet. So I think this was a bit of a map mistake from Giants. Going for a tier 2 tower on the other side of the map, really no benefit at all. And a cost far too large to take at this point in the game.
Yeah, and unfortunately, one of those areas where younger lineups do tend to falter is this late game decision making. And while Giants have had some pretty shining moments in terms of team fighting prowess and one or two moments of coordination, the mistakes are still very much there for this young lineup.
Yeah.
And now it looks like Elder Dragon going to be the focus.
Ryu doesn't have flash this fight though. That was a good zoning field from Victor here, and a flank potentially from Smitty J. He gets sniffed out, but he's doing his job. He's just threatening from the side. Maxlor sidesteps.
Great side step on the arrow. Smitty J maybe looking to go into the back line. H2K trying to burn down the tank first. Great disengage with the Stranglethorns, but the Lamb's Respite comes out. Ryu looking for the flank on the back line. Here he comes. Gold card up and available. Knight burning down in the meantime. Freeze is going to grab that kill. Ryu getting ripped through, but there's a great Zhonya's for the team. Oh no, Maokai drops. Sunstar is next. What a play from H2K. A triple, a double, the full house. That's going to be the ace.
Yeah, turn and burn, full house for H2K. They sniff out Maxlor, engage him in, force the engage, and then they kite. And then Ryu repositions later in the fight. H2K decisively stronger in the late game. Giants not just quite there yet. Next is going down.
H2K happy to pick up that first win in the series, and despite some hiccups, despite some lost team fights, still managed to close it out with confidence.
Yeah, that's just game one. We could at least see both these teams understand goals of their composition at different points in the game, but also we saw them get punished for just not thinking far enough ahead. H2K at times early game needlessly grouping. We're not syncing their engage, but then Giants as well trying to get too much at once. Very hard later in the game, but we also saw the power of this Trundle ultimate, why it's considered, especially here in Europe, one of the higher tier picks in top lane, because it just nullifies the other tank and something you're playing one tank versus zero.
Exactly, and you saw Smitty J get burned down, but additionally, Vander doing very well with that Stranglethorns, the ultimate coming out from Zyra, really making it difficult for that run-at-you composition to actually get on top of the team from H2K.
Yeah, and he only died twice. As Zyra, that's probably the equivalent to going deathless in a game. It's so easy to die on that champion, so he definitely did his job, biding his time, throwing out snares, and then just kiting.
What makes me sad is I can't make the joke about mid-maxing your damage value by using the passive, because it's not the same. Gone are the days of the true damage teamfight shot.
Unlucky.
A lot more plants than we saw exactly like how much harass those were able to put out and how much zone control they provided, because Smitty J wanted to get into the team fight, wanted to be that frontliner, had to spend a decent amount of time clearing out plants before he did get to arrive, and when he finally did, too little too late. Trundle used to subjugate.
Vander was just being nice, putting him back in the forest with his brethren. It's like, here, little tree, have some more plants around you, slow you down. Yeah, Smitty J tried. It all comes down to whether there's follow-up on the damage, if you can lock a target down, but there was so much CC and peel, so eventually later in the game, it was just too much, like Cocoon, all these arrows slowing down plants, Trundle pillars. It made it so hard for Giants to kind of weed through the maze and get to where they needed to be.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, it felt like the CC advantage for H2K was just simply too great. You said it's hard to weave through those things, and when all they have is the Victor and the Maokai, like one AoE potential stun, as well as one guaranteed point and click, it's just not enough CC. And Karma and Sivir, yes, they make you so fast, but at the end of the day, it's simply too much to deal with. Of course, for more on that game, let's send it over to Trevor Quickshot Henry at the Telestrator.
Quickshot.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. I'm going to talk just a little bit more about H2K and Giants from that first game. As you can see, the game kicks off, and it starts with a lane swap. H2K and Giants, they traded objectives up until 10 or 11 minutes into the game. Freeze comes out with a 30 CS advantage, and then Yankos gets a little over-eager. The First Blood King is the one that gets first blooded, but a very, very good teleport from Smitty J allows Giants to get themselves on top of H2K, get themselves a triple kill, and start the game off looking very strong. This actually allowed Giants to temporarily hold on to the gold lead before H2K were able to use that pick comp and able to bring their way back into the game. About 6 or 7 minutes later, around the Rift Herald, we're going to have our second replay. If we can pull it up onto your screen, H2K are looking to punish Giants. You can see they've just secured the Herald. Giants looking to defend, looking to bring themselves back in, and a bit of a fail flash from Smitty J. Power of the team composition. There's some time being bought here from the Kindred. You're going to see the Destiny coming out from Twisted Fate, jumping into the back line, allowing H2K with Ryu, with Freeze, to close out the team fight. They come away securing themselves 4 kills at the cost of only 2. The mid-game was incredibly back and forth. Several team fights around multiple objectives, and it finally brings us to one of the fights that highlights this. It is a Baron team fight as our third replay. Pull it up onto your screen, and you can see Giants fairly desperate. They were trying to force H2K's hand, trying to bring H2K towards them, and use that grouping power that the team composition would have. Unfortunately for Giants, it's all just a little bit messy. Oda was a monster on the Trundle. You can see Ryu and Freeze untouched throughout the entirety of this fight. 0-1, they went on to split push for the remaining 15 minutes of the game, and Giants tried to force things as a group. Yes, they took a few towers, but truthfully, it was H2K that were in charge of the game the entire time. We'll find out if Giants can bounce back from the defeat, but right now we're going to take a quick break as the two teams are gearing up for Game 2 of the series. We'll be right back with H2K taking on Giants.